this dragon getting mini bombs. You can call me Daniel, son, you know I serve the living God. Yours is made of brass.
Shalom, shalom, Israel. Most High in Christ bless. Happy Sabbath, y'all. And I'm Officer Alicia, and I have with me
Officer Soraya. Happy Sabbath.
Happy Sabbath, y'all. Hey, listen, we're going to be holding down Helmet Time, the Deacon slot, right? So he gave us the honor, the privilege to teach the nation. So Lord's will.
We in this building.
That's right. We're in this building. So guess what, y'all? This class tonight is something that I've been meditating on for a few days here. And it's called Vanity of Vanities. All is vanity. Vanity of Vanities. All is vanity. And the premise of the class, it goes into how we go through life and then we have certain value, or we place certain values on things that don't really matter, right? We have certain, we watch social media, right? We're so involved with our jobs. We're so involved with trying to, have certain honors within this world, but
you got your bills. You
got bills. You got all these different things, right? But King Solomon, as we're going to dive into, he lets us know the importance of this life right here. The things that we think is important is really not. And we're going to prove that tonight.
And officer, I was thinking too, I was having a conversation, maybe it's been a while now, but I remember talking, I forgot who I was talking to, but we were talking about how, how America has allowed us a certain form of, level of comfort, right? So, for example, when you're hungry, you just go get something to eat, right? When you're bored, you scroll on your phone, you go to the movies, whatever, to entertain yourself, right? America has taught us how to be vain, how to put our entertainment and put our lives first, right? You look at a third world country, they don't have the ability to just go get running water or have entertainment when they do. Same like in the children of Israel in the book of Numbers, how they were complaining about the melons and the leeks that we ate for free in Egypt, not realizing that you was in captivity that whole time. And so we, more often than none, choose the vain things of life, but we always disregard what God wanted us to do. It's like we go to the gym, we work out, we eat, we do all these different things, but how often do we take the time to fast and pray? We're good at strengthening that flesh, but how often do we take the time to strengthen that spirit? You got to strengthen the spirit as well, too. Yeah.
Now, let's dive into it. Now, remember, we talked about how King Solomon, the wisest man, besides Jesus the Christ, the wisest man to walk this earth, he give us some insight on the meaning of life, right? He's saying that what we think is important is truly not. He's saying it's vanity of vanity. All is vanity, right? So let's dive into it. Let's go to Wisdom of Solomon. Let's start at verse chapter 2, and let's start at verse 23. Check
Wisdom
the mic.
Check.
All right, there we go.
Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 2, in verse 23. For God created man to be immortal and made him to be an image of his own eternity.
So now, the thing here, we're going to start here because King Solomon is letting us know that the Most High, he created man to be eternal. Keep this in mind. He made man to be eternal and of the image of his eternity. Meaning, when in Genesis it say that God created man in his image, he means what? In eternity, meaning that he wanted all men to be eternal.
So he didn't create us to be working our 9 to 5s and 12-hour shifts and 14-hour shifts?
Nah.
To be focused on that?
Nah, he didn't. So now let's jump back to chapter 1 now. Give me chapter 1, verse 12. Same book. Chapter 1, verse 12 now.
Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 1, in verse 12.
Read.
Seek not death in the error of your life, and pull not upon yourselves destruction with the works of your hands.
Read on.
For God made not death.
Do what?
For God made not death.
So God did not intend for us to die. Read.
Neither hath he pleasure in the destruction of the living.
Read.
For he created all things that he might have their being.
That they might have their being. Read on.
And the generations of the world were healthful, and there is no poison of destruction in them, nor the kingdom of death upon the earth.
Read on.
For righteousness is immortal.
So now God is letting us know here. God is saying, listen, I didn't make man to die. I made man to be eternal. I made man to have life and the fullness thereof. But it say righteousness is immortal, meaning what? If you keep God's commandments, you're not going to die. So God initiated us to keep his commandments, and therefore we live forever. But here's the problem. Read on.
But ungodly men with their works and words called it to them. For when they thought to have it their friend, they consumed to naught and made a covenant with it, because they are worthy to take part with it.
So now, the Most High God, he made all of us, he made man to be eternal. But the thing is, we began to break his laws, and therefore death came into the world. So now what we got to understand is that when death came into the world, life lost its value. Life lost its value. If the Most High God made us to be eternal, and then we began to break his laws, death was instituted, meaning what? Life now has no value. Remember the premise of the class. It's a vanity of vanity. All is vanity, right? Go to 2 Ezra chapter 3. And let's start at verse 4.
2 Ezra chapter 3 and verse 4. O Lord, who bearest rule, thou spakest at the beginning, when thou didst plant the earth, and that thyself alone, and commandest the people, and gavest a body unto Adam without soul, which was the workmanship of thine hands, and didst breathe into him the breath of life.
Read.
And he was made living before thee.
Read on.
And thou leddest him into paradise, which thy right hand had planted before ever the earth came forward. And unto him thou gavest commandment to love thy way, which he transgressed.
Which you did what?
Which he transgressed.
Read on.
And immediately thou appointest death in him, and in his generations.
So, read.
And in his generations, of whom came nations, tribes, people, and kindreds out of number.
So now the Lord is letting us know here, the Bible is letting us know when Adam came and he transgressed, then death was instituted. So we just read here before, it said, look, the Most High God, he made man to have life eternal. But Adam, when he transgressed, death began to reign, right? Now death is instituted, meaning now what? Life lost its value. Just roll with me on this, right? Let's go to Ecclesiastes chapter 1. Let me show you something. Ecclesiastes chapter 1. Ecclesiastes chapter 1. Now we're going to go to King Solomon. Let's see what he got to say about this.
Verse 1.
Let's start at verse 1, yes.
Ecclesiastes chapter 1 and verse 1.
Uh-huh.
The words of the preacher, the son of David, king in Jerusalem. Vanity of vanities, saith the preacher. Vanity of vanities, all is vanity.
So now King Solomon is saying everything is vanity. Vanity of vanity, all is vanity. Now let's get this definition. Let's see what it means when it say vanity. I want definition number 2. It say vanity of vanity, all is vanity. Let's read that.
This is the definition of vanity. Something that is vain, empty, or valueless.
So now King Solomon is saying that there's something in his life that is vain, that is empty, and that is valueless. Remember what we're building upon. When the Most High God made man, he made man to live eternal. But when Adam sinned, death was instituted. Now King Solomon is saying vanity of vanity. Everything is vain. Meaning what? This life is valueless, is empty, and is vain. Right? Go to Wisdom of Solomon chapter 7. And let's start at verse 17 now.
Wisdom of Solomon chapter 7 and verse 17.
Uh-huh.
For he hath given me certain knowledge of the things that are, namely to know how the world was made, and the operation of the elements, the beginning ending in midst of the time. The alterations of the turning of the sun and the change of seasons, the circuits of years.
Read a little faster.
The circuits of years and the positions of stars, the natures of living creatures and the furies of wild beasts, the violence of winds and the reasonings of men, the diversities of plants and the virtues of roots.
So now, King Solomon here, he knows everything from the beginning to the midst to the ends of time. So when King Solomon said that vanity of vanity, all is vanity, he is qualified to let us know that, listen, I've seen the beginning. I've seen the middle. I've seen the end of times. I've seen all generations. And what I concluded is that life is vain. Now, you may look at it like, well, damn, well, life is vain? Why am I living this life? There's a reason why we're living this life, and there's a certain thing, a certain idea, a certain value that we must pull out of life. Never mind the things that we learn in social media and the things that we grew up thinking that was important. God is telling us what's truly important. King Solomon is letting us know what's truly important. He said the things that we thought that was important, he said, no, that's vain. He said, vanity of vanity, all is vanity. He knew the beginning, he knew the midst, and the end of time. And now he's telling us the things that we thought we knew, don't dwell on those things. Don't put your value on those things, right? So now let's go to Ecclesiastes chapter 1, verse 3 now.
Ecclesiastes chapter 1 and verse 3.
What
profit hath a man of all his labor which he taketh under the sun?
So King Solomon is saying, what is the profit of all the labors that I take under the sun? And this doesn't just go for King Solomon. He's talking about all men. He's saying, what is the profit that we're going to gain? The labor that we take, the plans that we make. He say, what's the profit of it? Because why? King Solomon seen generations come and go, right? But he's saying, what is the profit of us living in this earth, right? We don't.
One generation passeth away, and another generation cometh.
Read.
But the earth abideth forever.
He say, but the earth abideth forever. So generations come and go, but the earth abideth forever. Read on.
The sun also ariseth, and the sun goeth down, and hasteth to the place where he arose. The wind goeth toward the south, and turneth about unto the north. It whirleth about continually.
Read.
And the wind returneth again according to his circuits. All the rivers run into the sea, yet the sea is not full. Unto the place from whence the rivers come, thither they return again.
So now, King Solomon is comparing all the different cycles of life. He's comparing the rivers that's run in a circuit that goes into the sea, the sun that ariseth and go back to its place, all these different methods and all these different cycles, if you will. He is making a comparison with life. He's saying generations they come, generations they go. Just like the sun ariseth, just like the sea and the rivers, they go into a circuit and come back to its place, the same thing happened with man. When you're born, now there's just a countdown of you going back to the earth again, right? Read on.
All things are full of labor.
All things are full of labor. Read.
Man cannot utter it.
So now he's saying, listen, all these things are full of labor. Us trying to understand the meaning of life, it is a very hard thing. It say man cannot utter it, meaning what? They can't explain it. Read on.
The eye is not satisfied with seeing.
So the eye can sit there and observe life. They can see the reason the men, they can see the men operate, but they cannot understand why is man here? Why are they here? Read on.
Nor the ear filled with hearing.
It say nor the ear, meaning what? They sit down and they listening to men of understanding. They listening to men that has experience, but can't break down the meaning of life. Read on.
The thing that hath been, it is that which shall be. And that which is done is that which shall be done.
So now he's saying the things that have been, it shall be again. And the things that are to come, hold on, read it again.
The thing
Verse 9?
The thing that hath been.
The thing that have been, meaning man that have been in the past, read.
It is that which shall be.
It shall come again, read on.
And that which is done.
So the thing that has been done in the past, read.
is that which shall be done.
It's that thing that shall be done again, meaning what? It's an ever-going cycle. Read.
And there is no new thing under the sun.
So the thing that King Solomon is letting us know that what? This cycle will not be broken. You can't break the mold. You can't break the mold. So you come in thinking that you can change things. No, the cycle does not change. When a man is born, he is going up into the earth. He's going to do certain things. He's going to have certain labors. He's going to try to figure out life, and then he's going to go into the earth again. And it's going to happen generation in, generation out. So they explained to us the cycle of life and how it is hard for us to understand it, right? Let's go to James chapter 4 and verse 14. James chapter 4 and verse 14.
James chapter 4 and verse 14. Whereas ye know not what shall be on the morrow. For what is your life? It is even a vapor that appeareth for a little time, and then vanisheth away.
So now it said that your life it will appear for a certain time, and then it vanishes away like a vapor. You have a vapor with smoke, like this smoke right here. Once it lets off, it goes away. That's how life is. That's how quick life happens. When you're born, it quickly goes away. So you go from birth, and you quickly die. Read on.
For that ye ought to say, if the Lord will, we shall live.
You see that? Now, go back to Ecclesiastes now.
Hey, officer, you bringing this out, and it was coming to my mind. I was thinking about how, so you know how none of us decided to be in the truth, right? We got a seed was planted at some point, and maybe we heard it, and at some point we came into the truth, right? And the goal was for us to keep the commandments. And then, like, you know how not too long ago Bishop did a class about the battle fatigue, right? So it's like brothers are coming to the truth, and they're fired up, right? We've all gone through it before, right? It's video, just weeks in, weeks out, scriptures nonstop. And then at some point in your walk, you're like, well, you know, I've heard Deuteronomy 28:6 a couple of times before. I've heard that a couple of times. I've heard that. You know, we actually even had brothers here that have said that they felt like they were past the milk. And but it's dangerous when you look at it and that's why it all goes back to vanity, because the zeal that we used to have when coming to the truth, because we get laxed, or we're not putting in enough work, or because we're putting other things before the commandments, like our jobs, like there's a lot of brothers that make the excuse to do the extra overtime, or they know good and well that the law says to not work on the Sabbath, but, my bill's this and my bill's that. Now, we all got problems. We all got bills. What's more needful is putting God first, because was it Matthew 6? It says to seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness. Mm-hmm. And then everything else that you need will be added unto you. But sometimes brothers and sisters, they'll have it backwards. They put their needs and their wants above what the commandments say. Mm-hmm. And it's dangerous because it goes into idolatry. So it's like when he's saying the vanity of vanities, all is vanity, it's dangerous when you're playing around with your vanity, right? Because now we're going into idolatry now. When you're putting your job, or you're putting whatever, it doesn't matter what it is, whatever it is that you're putting before God, you're saying that this job or this whatever it is, I believe in it more than I believe in God's commandments. Right. So this supersedes what God tells me that I'm supposed to be doing, and it's dangerous because you're playing with your life. You're playing with your life. When he says all is vanity, it's a heavy point.
Yeah, it is.
It's a heavy point. Because even going to the point how you started off, man was created to be immortal. We were not created to be here, and the reason why we're in the condition that we're in is because we keep making the choice to break the commandments. If we stop making the choice to break the commandments, maybe we can get up out of this condition. Mm-hmm. Brothers and sisters, you've been saying for the past couple of weeks, leadership been dealing with the fornication and the adultery. It's like, at what point do you realize that that's punishable by death? Like, the whole fact that you're alive right now is because God has given you mercy. He's giving you an opportunity to fix it, yet because of a lack of discipline, a lack of whatever it is, sin that you're allowing to fester up, the sin that you're nurturing, sin that you're feeding, it's coming forth, and now you're falling into the sin now. It's dangerous, man.
So now, let's build on what you said here in 1 John chapter 2 and verse 15, right? We speak, the scripture tells us how the things that we deem as important, It's really not, right? So let's see what John got to say about this. Let's go to 1 John chapter 2, and I want verse 15.
1 John chapter 2 and verse 15.
Uh-huh.
Love not the world.
So now you say, love not the world. Love not the world. We don't.
Neither the things that are in the world.
Uh-huh.
If any man love the world, the love of the Father is not in him.
Read.
For all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life, is not of the Father, but is of the world. And the world passeth away.
That's the point right there. Right. Say what?
And the world passeth away.
Read.
And the lust thereof.
Uh-huh.
But he that doeth the will of God abideth forever.
You see that? So the things that we are drawn towards, our desires, our lust, those things are going to pass away. Now, give me Hebrews chapter 3.
And when you finish that, can we show that video?
Yeah.
Because it builds upon this point, loving the world.
Yeah. Let's go to Hebrews chapter 3, and I want verse 13. Remember that point. It say, love not the world or the things that are in the world, because those things, they will pass away. But let's get that. Hebrews 3 and verse 13 now.
Hebrews chapter 3 and verse 13. But exhort one another daily, while it is called today.
Read.
Lest any of you be hardened through the deceitfulness of sin.
That's the point. It say through the deceitfulness of sin. What makes sin so deceitful? Because we thinking that, you know, we having this sin right in front of us. We getting that instant gratification.
You're gaining something.
We're thinking that we're gaining something, and we're not gaining anything. We are so wound up in the pleasure of this instant gratification that we can't see past that, and we can't see what comes after that. We can't see that. That's what makes sin so deceitful. So many of us, many of our people, we're so engaged in our vanity or different sins because why? We want things right now. We want to please ourselves right now.
Instant
and that's what makes things so, that's what makes sin so deceitful. That's what makes pleasures so deceitful. You see that? Read it again from the top for me.
Hebrews chapter 3 and verse 13.
Uh-huh.
But exhort one another daily.
So we got to exhort one another daily. Read.
While it is called today.
Uh-huh.
Lest any of you be hardened through the deceitfulness of sin.
You said it. You see that? It say be hardened through the deceitfulness of sin. The deceitfulness of sin. Now give me Hebrews 11. Then we're going to get that video for you. Give me Hebrews chapter 11, and I want verse 24 now. Hebrews 11, verse 24.
Hebrews chapter 11 and verse 24.
Uh-huh.
By faith, Moses, when he was come to years, refused to be called the son of Pharaoh's daughter.
Read.
Choosing rather to suffer affliction with the people of God than to enjoy the pleasures of sin for a season.
You see why sin is so deceitful? Because you are the pleasures of it is only for a season. It's only temporary. So the things that we want in life, it say is vanity of vanity. All is vanity. Is because these sins that we involve ourselves in is only for a temporary time. The Lord said that those, excuse me, those sins are loving the world, the sins of the world, it say that it's only for a time and then it's going to pass away. But those who keep the commandments, they shall endure forever. Y'all see that? Now let's get this video.
Right. So I'm pretty sure most of you probably have seen this. We shouldn't get no strike for this, right?
No, we shouldn't. We just going to do about a minute of it.
Yeah, it's only like a minute. So if you've ever seen the movie Devil's Advocate, there's one part in particular when you get towards the end. Spoiler alert. I'm gonna spoil it for you. By now you should have already seen it. But so you got this guy and his wife. They start off in a small town, right? I think he was a lawyer in a small town, and in some kind of way, I don't remember exactly how, but he ends up taking this big time job in New York. So he becomes this big time, high profile lawyer. So now they go from a comfortable, meager life to now they have access, and the movie is told from two different sides. So on the side of the wife, she now has access to money, so she's going shopping all the time, things that she had never had, she was never exposed to before. And then the lawyer, he was always a lawyer, but he was an honest lawyer. And in order for him to, I guess, get far in the business or far in the industry, he kind of had to go against his own morals, go against his own integrity. So he started defending men that he knew were guilty. getting them off, right? But there's just one part in particular at the end that I want to make note of, because it's heavy when he says to love not the world, neither the things of the world. And when you get away from focusing on God's commandment, like Joshua says, to meditate day and night on the commandments, that is how you get success, right? We will oftentimes put our own desires above the commandments, putting our trust and hopes in those things. And it comes to nothing because, again, it all ends up being vanity. You putting your things or what your desires are before God, it's not going to profit you. It's not going to profit. But let's play this, though, just like the last little minute.
This is the one, pal. This is the one you
There is no story.
Bullshit. A lawyer
Excuse
with
the
a
language.
crisis of conscience? You gotta be kidding. It's huge.
They're gonna disbar me, Larry. Right about that.
Wait a second. Can they do that?
Not when I get through with the story. We gotta talk, Kevin. You gotta give me an exclusive. This is wire service. This is 60 minutes.
Pause real quick.
This is a story that...
So what he's trying to get him to do is continue being this high-profile lawyer. At this point, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think he decided he didn't want to. He found out the guy he was working for was the devil. He supposedly had a moment of clarity and decided he didn't want to do it anymore. And now this character is trying to get him to continue doing what he's doing. Right? Go ahead and play.
needs to be told.
And Paul,
It's
and notice
you.
how if you watch the wife, she's kind of egging him on a little bit. I'll play.
We got to talk, Kevin. You got to give me an exclusive. This is wire service. This is 60 minutes. This is a story that needs to be told. It's you. You're a star.
Call me in the morning.
You got it. First thing.
And here's the part.
Bye, Larry.
Now he changes into the devil.
Vanity. Definitely my favorite sin.
You stop it there. So Satan knows, like Satan, he don't have no new tricks. The same stuff that he was doing in biblical times, he's doing now. Same with when you look at the rappers today, right? Well, I'm gonna give you $1 million contract, and all you got to do is talk about shooting and killing. No, most of these guys hadn't even lived the lifestyle that they're rapping about yet, but because of the vanity, because of the money, because of the lack of resources, the idea of me being in a better position than what I'm at right now, I'm willing to forego all of my morals, all of my values, anything to get to this certain place, right? The beautiful thing about it, though, is we have an example in the scriptures, because if you remember in Matthew chapter 4, what happened with Christ? Wasn't Christ offered the world? Wasn't he offered these various things? But what did Christ do? Like when 1 Peter says that he left us an example for us to follow in his steps, the Bible contains every single thing. You look at all of these guys that have, quote unquote, sold their soul, right? For money, for cars, for women, for fame, for power, for whatever reasons. They're saying that I don't care about my morals. I don't care about whatever I have to do, who I have to kill, who I got to do, or what I got to do to get to this place. I'm willing to put those things aside to get what I want now. And when you look at this truth and this lifestyle, it requires discipline, right? You have to suffer now to get a benefit later. And it's a hard concept to grasp when you come up in instant gratification, because I'm used to having what I want right now. You know what I mean? But you mean to tell me I got to stay disciplined right now? I can't eat no pork. I can't go lay around with women. I can't do none of these things, but I'm hoping to get this reward later on down the line. And it takes a certain amount of faith and a certain amount of discipline to be able to understand and do that. You know?
And I'm glad that you mentioned that, right? Because we have to understand, once you understand what the Lord is trying to prove to us, right, or trying to prove in us, is our loyalty towards him. So he will allow Satan, like we have here, Al Pacino is playing Satan, but Satan has a certain objective with us, right? If we go to the book of Job, chapter 1, this is a prime example of what each and every one of us has to go through, the decisions that we have to make, and the desires that Satan put in front of us.
Christ went through
Christ went through it all. It say that in the book of Hebrews, he said he went through all the points. Mm-hmm. But the point is that Satan would just present certain things, vain things to us,
knowing that that's what you like.
knowing the things that we like.
Like James said, that you're drawn away after your own lust
Right.
and enticed.
Exactly.
Your own lust.
And we got to make that decision. Let's go to Job chapter 1, and I want to start at verse 1.
Job chapter 1 and verse 1. There was a man in the land of Uz whose name was Job, and that man was perfect and upright, and one that feared God and eschewed evil.
So now this brother, Job, he was a perfect man. He kept God's commandments with no problem, right? He said he was a perfect man, and he eschewed evil, right? Jump down to verse 7 now.
Verse 7. And the Lord said unto Satan, whence comest thou?
So now the Lord is asking Satan, where are you coming from? What you been doing this time, right? Read.
Then Satan answered the Lord and said, from going to and fro in the earth.
So now Satan is responding to the Lord and saying, I'm going to and fro from the earth. So we got to ask ourselves, what does that mean? Is he just taking a stroll?
He's just walking?
What is he doing? What is his objective? Go to 1 Peter's, I think it's 5 and 8. Let's go to 1 Peter's 5 and 8.
1 Peter chapter 5 and verse 8. Be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary the devil, as a roaring lion,
As a what?
As a roaring lion,
Read.
walketh about, seeking whom he may devour.
So now he's walking up and down the earth and he's seeking whom he may devour. Now how does he do that? He presents them with certain desires and lusts. He presents them with opportunities. Now the point of the class is you have to understand and decipher what is important and what's not.
Right.
When the devil presents you with certain things, it may seem like it's good. It may seem pleasurable, and it is pleasurable, but it's deceitful. That's the point of the class. You have to understand that what is presented to you that's outside of the commandments of God, it is deceitful and it will destroy you.
You know what's heavy about that point too is when you really look at it, like in James again, when it says that you're drawn away after your own lust and entice, right? So the difference between God blessing you with something and Satan blessing you with something is very noticeable, because God ain't gonna bless you with anything that's gonna compromise you having to break the commandments. He's not gonna go against his own word. So for example, you just get this random beautiful job offer, and all you got to do, we'll give you every holiday off. We'll give you all, it's good. We'll give you $45 an hour, whatever. All you got to do is just work every single Saturday. And then you're, oh, this is a blessing from God. So you're saying that God is going to bless you to break his commandments? No, God is not going to do that. So then now, again, you have a choice to make. What are you going to allow your faith to work, to do what it's supposed to do, and pray that God actually bless you with something better? Or are you going to cave in and not keep the commandments?
So let's read on. Let's jump to verse 8 now.
Verse 9.
Job chapter 1, verse 8.
Job chapter 1 in verse 8.
Uh-huh.
And the Lord said unto Satan, hast thou considered my servant Job?
So now listen to the response of the Lord. He just asked Satan, hey, what you been doing? Satan been saying, listen, I've been walking up and down the earth. I'm trying to find somebody to devour. The Lord said, hey, did you try Job? You know, the one that's perfect, the one that eschew evil.
Right.
Try him. This is the counsels that goes on in the heavens without us knowing. This happened to each and every one of us. The Lord say, try Sariah. Try Elisha.
Well, he tried me too, bro.
Try Zekiah. Try Adino. Try these different men and see what they're truly made of.
What are they going to do? What you going to do?
What are you going to do? Put certain things that are within them, like you say, that they're drawn away from their lust. He say, pull that out of them, and let's see what they're going to do with them. Let's see what he do with it, because now this whole life is vain. This whole life is a proving ground to see how loyal are we to the Most High God. Are we loyal to ourselves, or are we loyal to the Most High? If we're loyal to the Most High, that means that we're going to eschew evil
and keep
and we're going to keep the commandments. No matter how desirable that may be, the Lord is going to try us to see, do we love him more than we love ourselves? Keep reading, verse 9.
Then Satan answered the Lord and said, Doth Job fear God for naught? Hast not thou made a hedge of protection? Has not thou made an hedge about him, and about his house, and about all that he hath on every side? Thou hast blessed the work of his hands, and his substance is increased in the land.
So now Satan is saying, listen, the only reason why Job is keeping the commandments, he's perfect, is because you protect him.
You protecting him.
He said, listen, whatever he wants, he gets because he keep your commandments. He said, but listen, if you do a little something, if you put a little wrench in there, if you touch him in any type of way, he said, listen, I'm going to prove to you that he going to fold.
He going to fold.
And that's the same thing that each and every one of us has to go through. So when you lose your job, or when you have your car go down, or all these different things that may happen, you may lose your wife, your children may leave the truth. Now it's the Lord looking at you. It's Satan looking at you to see, okay, what is he going to do now? But the thing is, you got to understand that in this life, all these things that Satan presents to us is vain, meaning it's valueless. Listen, you got to see it from a grand scheme. You got to see life as a proving ground for the Lord is trying to see where your loyalty lies. He's trying to see where you're going to end up. Or will you choose him over yourself? And guess what? There's a reward if you choose him. That's the thing.
That satisfaction that Satan give you is temporary.
It's only temporary. That's what it said in Hebrews chapter 11. It says that the pleasures of sin is temporary, but those who keep the commandments, they're going to abide forever. Right? Now, let's go to, hold up. We finished with that? No, go to, keep reading, verse 11. Keep reading.
But put forth thine hand now and touch all that he has.
So now the Lord is saying, look, go forth and touch whatever he has, whether it's his family, whether it's his business. He say, touch whatever he have. Read on.
And he will curse thee to thy face.
He said, and I'll bet you, I put money on it, that he going to curse you to your face. This is a conversation that Satan and the Lord is having. Read.
And the Lord said unto Satan, Behold, all that he hath is in thy power. Only upon himself put not forth thine hand.
You see that the power that the Lord gives Satan? He said, listen, I give you all that power. He said, listen, just don't touch his life. And we're going to prove to see what is he really about. Right? Now, let's go to Sirach chapter 2. Let's go to Sirach chapter 2, and I want to start at verse 1.
Ecclesiasticus chapter 2 and verse 1. My son, if thou come to serve the Lord, prepare thy soul for temptation.
So now, in the scriptures, the Lord is letting us know, he's saying, when you decide to serve me as Job was serving him, he said, expect temptation. What we just read in Job chapter 1 is temptation. Satan said, listen, the only reason that Job is following you, is serving you, is because ain't no affliction happening to him. But now he's saying there will be temptation. Each and every last one of us must expect that. There shouldn't be a strange thing when something happens towards you. When something evil happens, something negative happens, something bad happens, you got to expect it. We don't.
Set thy heart aright.
So you got to set your heart aright. This is what we're doing right now. We got to set our minds right and prepare ourselves for Satan's temptations. We don't.
And constantly endure.
Meaning what? He said you got to constantly endure, meaning it's not going to happen one time. It says Satan tried Christ for a season, meaning what? He came back. It's going to happen over and over and over again. We don't.
But you know what Christ did, though? Every time Satan came at Christ, what did he do? He quoted the scriptures.
He came with the scriptures.
He said, it is written. It is written.
That's how you set your mind right.
That's what we got to do. We got to get out of our emotions, and that's why it's so important when Bishop says to study, pray, and apply. He's saying for when those times come, you'll have enough scriptural understanding to be able to fight those things, because the weapons of our warfare, they're not carnal. Right. This is not a physical battle. This is Satan trying to devour you to see, what are you going to do? Because we to be honest, a lot of us, we don't take the time to build our spirits. We don't fast and pray the way we should. So we come to the Sabbath, it's like day in and day out, and a lot of brothers and sisters don't take this truth serious enough. And then that you see, it's what the saying in Israel, it's a revolving door. Every Passover, every Tabernacles, brothers come in, brothers go out. Sisters come in, sisters go out. They're not fortifying their mind.
Keep reading.
Set thy heart aright and constantly endure.
So you got to constantly endure. Read on.
And make not haste in time of trouble.
Read on.
Cleave unto him.
Do what?
Cleave unto him.
I know that's very hard for us to do in time of temptation. When things are caving in on you, when everything is going crazy, when everything is going bad for you, God said, cleave unto him. That's something that we all got to practice. That's something that we all got to build ourselves up to, because we can easily read it, but it's very hard to take that action to cleave unto him when it's easy, when times are hard, just to go sell that pack, just to go steal something, just to go, do some evil to try to come up. It's very easy for us to do that. But God's saying in those times of trouble, it say cleave unto him.
And you know what's scary about that too is the more you compromise your integrity and break the commandments, the easier it'll become. Like, how many times have you seen a brother, like we got a brother here, brother miss the Sabbath or miss 1 or 2 Sabbaths. Like, man, I ain't seen that brother in a while. And the more Sabbaths this brother miss, the easier it becomes for him to continue in that sin.
Right.
And that's why it's dangerous playing around with them sins, because the more you indulge in it, the harder it's going to be to come back from that thing. It's going to be hard.
Right. Read on.
Cleave unto him and depart not away, that thou mayest be increased at thy last end.
Read on.
Whatsoever is brought upon thee, take cheerfully.
So let's say, whatsoever is brought upon thee. It sounds real good, don't it? It say, whatever thou hast, or no, whatever is brought upon thee, take cheerfully. Meaning all the temptations and the trials that you go through, it say, do it cheerfully. But there's a reason why. I know it's hard. I know, like, man, listen, it's easy to read. It's easy to read that and say, yeah, let's take this cheerfully, right? But there's a reward behind it. Read on.
And be patient when thou art changed to a lower state.
Here's the reason why. Read.
4. Gold is tried in the fire.
So he just say God tries you in the fire. If you want to be pure gold, it said you got to be tried. When you want to be purified, or the process of purifying gold, guess where that gold got to go? It got to go into a furnace. It got to get burnt. It got to have heat. It got to go through some type of process that's not fun, that's not enjoyable. So when you're going through certain things, you got to have the mindset to know, okay, I know that there's a reward behind this. I know that there's something that's going to lead to this that will better me, that'll build me up. This is something that we got to keep reading over and over again. Like I said, Romans 10, it said you got to read this and meditate on it to build your faith. Because we can read it and say that it's all good. Oh, yeah, that's very easy. But oftentimes when we go through it, we see brothers leave out the door.
Right.
We see brothers just, they fade away, right? Because they're not taking this to heart. Read that again.
4. Gold is tried in the fire.
Uh-huh.
And acceptable men in the furnace of adversity.
So the only way that you're going to be accepted before the Lord is if you go through adversity. If you go through certain temptations. And guess who bringing that temptation? Satan. Guess who had the counsel? It was the Lord and Satan. They said, what about this brother right here? The Lord said, try him. Why? Because he knows that there's something good going to happen out of that. There's certain impurities that we got to pull out of ourselves by going through that furnace of adversity.
Real quick. Let me, so what you're saying is that let's get real quick 2 Timothy chapter 3, and we're going to read verse 12 first. And it goes along with what you're saying, officer, because like we got to realize that God didn't bring us into this truth to destroy us, right? We're so comfortable being, like, we spent the majority of our lives living worldly, right? We 20, 30, 40, 50 some odd years old learning the ways of the world. And so it's a process, like it says in, I think it's Ecclesiastes 17:25, I think it says, to offend less. So every single day should be another day that you're putting off the old man. Another day of you changing the thoughts to conform to what the Bible says, like put off that old man. Why? Read that real quick.
2 Timothy chapter 3 in verse 12. Yea, and all that will live godly in Christ Jesus shall suffer persecution.
Why do we got to suffer persecution? Because we are that gold trying to be, well, we're the dim gold now, but we're trying to become like that gold of Ophir. The only way to become pure is to get the impurities out, right? Some of us still got malice in our hearts. Some of us still got jealousy. Again, the past couple of Sabbaths been going over fornication and marriage and a lot of the same things that leadership has to keep going over and over and over again. We still have these things on the inside of us. Now jump up to verse 11.
Verse 11.
Uh-huh.
Persecutions, afflictions which came unto me at Antioch, at Iconium, at Lystra.
Uh-huh.
What persecutions I endured.
So he endured persecutions, but here's the point.
But out of them all, the Lord delivered me.
But out of them all, God delivered us. So again, with Job, right? He said, have you tried my servant Job? Did that mean he turned his back on Job? No. He understood that Job knew that Job had what it takes to get through that trial. Like it says, what is it, Corinthians? He's not going to put more on you than you can bear. So again, going back to even the vanity of all vanities, we got to learn how to start seeing ourselves as the gods and the princesses that the Bible says that we are. Because when we hold on to the minds of what the world tells you you're a thug, the world tells you you're not no good, or you just as good as your daddy, or you look like your mom and all. That's what the world tells you. The Bible says that we are the sons of God. You are the daughters of Sarah. We have to take on that mindset because that's what's gonna help us to fight this spiritual war when Satan keeps trying to throw these different things at us, right? Getting in the scriptures, denouncing our flesh, following the commandments. Study, pray, apply. That's the only way that we're going to be able to overcome these things. But it goes back to what you were saying. Gold is tried in the fire and acceptable men in the furnace of adversity. We got to go through it. We got to go through it.
It's one thing that I want us to touch on, too, when we're dealing with these temptations, right, that Satan may throw at us, that the Lord is sanctioning this Satan to throw at us, right? We got to understand the life that we live in. We are as pilgrims and as strangers in this life.
Right,
that's the
right,
mindset that we got to have.
Right.
We got to have that mindset when we're living this life. Many of us,
not detached. We easily detach from these things.
Yes, we're supposed to be detached from certain things in this life,
Okay.
right? And if we can hone in on that, that'll make things a lot easier for us, right? And this is what our forefathers did. Let's go to Hebrews chapter 11. Hebrews chapter 11 and verse 13.
Hebrews chapter 11 in verse 13. These all died in faith, not having received the promises, but having seen them afar off, and were persuaded of them, and embraced them, and confessed that they were strangers and pilgrims on the earth.
So we have to confess, we have to acknowledge that the life that we're living right now, this life is only temporary. We're only strangers and pilgrims in this life. And that's why it was easier for our forefathers to have such strong faith, because they understood that there was something beyond this life right here.
Their faith is not tied to their job or their house.
It's not tied to anything in this life here, because they had mindset to know that God has something greater for them. That's the mindset that we must possess as well. That's how we resist the devil. That's how we resist those fiery darts, by understanding that we are strangers and pilgrims in this earth.
You know why that's so heavy? Because Solomon was the one that said, vanity of vanities, all is vanity.
Right.
Didn't he have everything?
He had everything. And
he had everything, and he was able to detach from that thing.
That was the
That's
whole
next level.
premise. In the book of Ecclesiastes, King Solomon, he
had
dabbled
everything.
in everything.
He had everything.
He dabbled in everything, right? And he understood, and that's why we read that in what was that? In Wisdom of Solomon, saying that he knew the beginning, the midst, and the end of time. So he qualified him. So King Solomon,
I know what I'm talking about.
qualified to say, listen, I
I've
know
been
what
there,
I'm talking
I've done
about.
that. Mhm.
I've done everything. I've built houses. I've built vineyards. I've dealt in folly. I dealt in wisdom, and I'm coming to show you that none of that matters. Nothing matters but what? To keep the commandments of God.
We worry about our little jobs and our little jury and stuff.
That's what we hone in on. But King Solomon is giving us wisdom, saying, listen, none of that stuff matters. Go to 1 Peter 2:11.
This man had gold all in the walls and stuff. We tripping.
He had everything. He enjoyed everything in life, and he said at the end of
It's
it,
all vanity.
it don't mean nothing.
What is it? Here's the point. Keep the commandments.
That's it.
That's the point. That's the whole
That's
point.
the whole
That's
point.
the duty.
Let's get that. Go to 1 Peter 2:11.
1 Peter chapter 2 and verse 11. Dearly beloved, I beseech you as strangers and pilgrims, abstain from fleshly lusts, which war against the soul, having your conversation honest among the Gentiles, that whereas they speak against you as evildoers, they may by your good works, which they shall behold.
Read verse 11 again.
Dearly beloved, I beseech you as strangers and pilgrims.
He said, I beseech you as strangers and pilgrims, meaning what? This is the mindset that we must have. Read.
Abstain from fleshly lusts.
So we got to abstain from fleshly lust. Those present, the lust that we have in this world, he say abstain from it. Because why? You have the mindset to know that there's something greater than this. There's something greater than the lust that you're about to indulge in. He said, abstain from that, knowing that God has something greater for you. You got to have the mindset to know that I'm only here temporarily. So if I want to attach myself to certain lust, guess what? You're not thinking as a stranger. You're not thinking as a pilgrim. You're not thinking as there's something better than what Satan is presenting to you. Read on.
Abstain from fleshly lust, which war against the soul.
You see that? So those things, it war against your soul. It wars against your soul. So now let's go to 1 Corinthians 7, verse 29.
The fleshly lust wars against your soul.
It wars against your soul. Read that.
You said 7:29?
Yes, sir. 1 Corinthians chapter 7, and I want verse 29.
1 Corinthians chapter 7 and verse 29. But this I say, brethren, the time is short. It remaineth that both they that have wives be as though they had none, and they that weep as though they wept not, and they that rejoice as though they rejoiced not, and they that buy as though they possessed not, and they that use this world as not abusing it, for the fashion of this world passeth away.
You see what we keep hearing over and over again? The fashions of this world, the lust of this world, the desires of this world, it passes away. But the thing that we want to hone in on is say, listen, weep as if you, it say, and they that weep as though they wept not, and though that rejoice as though they rejoice not, meaning that the things that we are doing in this life is vain. The things that we're trying to attach ourselves to in this life, it say those things are vain. But let's see what is the significance of this life here. Let's go back to Ecclesiastes. All these different things that we are involving ourselves in, King Solomon, Paul, Peter, the apostles, they all let us know that it is of no value. But here's the thing that we got to hone in on. Ecclesiastes chapter 12.
Ecclesiastes chapter 12 and verse 13. Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter.
So here's the conclusion of life. Here's the conclusion of the lesson that we're supposed to learn that King Solomon was trying to teach us. Read.
Fear God and keep his commandments.
King Solomon said, listen, I dealt with everything. I've done it all. He said, there's nobody that have done more than what I have done. And he said, the lesson that I've learned that I'm trying to bestow upon you is what? Read it again.
Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God and keep his commandments.
So the whole matter, the conclusion of the whole matter is to fear God and to keep his commandments. Keep his commandments. That's the only thing that we need to be settled on. You got some on that?
Now keep reading.
Read.
For this is the whole duty of man.
Read.
For God shall bring every work into judgment with every secret thing, whether it be good or whether it be evil.
So Solomon just said that I've experienced everything, right? And I'm telling you that it's more needful for you to keep the commandments because that's what I put you here for. Your job is to reign the earth, rule the nations, subdue the world, right? But then it says, for God shall bring every work into judgment with every secret thing, whether it be good or whether it be evil. So now this is brothers and sisters, knowing that we're supposed to be keeping the commandments, knowing that that's what you're supposed to be doing, and then God is paying attention, again, like how he did with Job, right? Have you tried this servant? What is this person going to do? Are you going to fold under pressure? Are you going to keep the commandments? What are you going to do? Are you going to sin in secret? What are you going to do? That's the point.
That's the point right there. That is the point. Now, let me get, let's go to Psalm chapter 34. Psalm chapter 34. And let's start at verse, let's start at verse 11.
Psalm chapter 34 and verse 11. Come ye children, hearken unto me. I will teach you the fear of the Lord. What man is he that desireth life and loveth many days, that he may see good? Keep thy tongue from evil, and thy lips from speaking guile. Depart from evil and do good. Seek peace and pursue it.
So the whole thing, the whole matter, or the whole idea of life, conclusion of life, is to teach us how to fear the Lord. Remember, we keep going back to it in Job, right, with the account of Job. The things that we are going through, the temptations that we go through, is to teach us how to accurately or to sincerely fear the Most High. Because with Satan, he said, listen, with Job, he said, listen, the reason why Job fear you is because he doesn't go through anything. There's no adversity. There's no affliction.
He's comfortable.
He's comfortable in his life. But the Lord is a man of war. The Lord is a man of war, and he is a man of spiritual war. So he is allowing certain things to war against our spirit, what, to build us up more, what, to drive out some of those impurities that we have within us. That's the name of the game. That's the name of the game, is to learn how to accurately fear the Lord, because we can say that we fear the Lord, but when things come, when things happen, we realize that no, that wasn't a true fear of the Lord. That was something that it was a what you call it? It was a what you call it? When you have a certain face, a facade. Thank you.
Yeah, I drew a blank.
That was you know, the life that we're living when we're not touched and we don't have that adversity. It's a certain facade. It's a certain facade that we have. So that's the things that we have to recognize when we are going through our trials, our tribulations, life in general. The sins or the desires that we have, they are vain. It is of no value. It is unprofitable, right? And if we have that mindset, then we can get through life a tad bit easier. A tad bit easier, right? You got some on that? All right. So now, one last scripture before we close this out. I want to go to John chapter 16. John chapter 16 and verse 33. John 16, verse 33.
John chapter 16 and verse 33.
Read.
These things I have spoken unto you. Excuse me. These things I have spoken unto you, that in me ye might have peace. In the world ye shall have tribulation.
So in this world, you're going to have tribulation. There's going to be trials. There's going to be certain adversities that we're going to have to go through. Read.
But be of good cheer.
But the thing is, we got to be of good cheer. Why? Read.
I have overcome the world.
So Christ was able to overcome the world and the tribulations thereof. So guess what? That means that we can do the same
He left us an
exact
example to follow
thing.
in his steps.
So we can follow his steps. He gave us a great example, right? Give me one more. Revelation chapter 2, verse 26.
Revelation chapter 2 in verse 26. And he that overcometh and keepeth my works unto the end, to him will I give power over the nation. And he shall rule them with a rod of iron.
You see that? It says that those who overcome these trials, these tribulations, these certain afflictions, those who overcome the certain the fiery darts that Satan gives to us, it say that there's a reward behind it. It say that they are going to rule over the nations. So now you got to ask yourself, are the things of this world, of this life, is it worth the things that Christ have in store for us? These are the things that we got to have in our mind. We got to have a value. We got to value certain things. So now, remember what we talked about with that instant gratification, right? We will be so indulgent. We'll be so ready to do the things that's right in front of us, and we forget about the things that Christ has in store for us. He said that he will give us power over the nations if we are able to overcome the lust and the desires that Satan gives us, or that Satan presents to us. You see that? So always have that in mind, y'all. Always have that in mind. You got something before we close out?
Yeah. God says, "I have not seen, nor ear hath heard. It is yet to enter into the hearts of men the things that God has in store for those that love him." Our wildest imagination can't even to fathom of what the kingdom is going to be like. And we have to make sure that we don't allow our own vanities to become our idols, if you will, so that we don't miss the kingdom. That's the whole goal. Solomon said it perfectly. He said that this is the whole duty of man, is to keep the commandments. God is judging everything secretly. He's judging everything in the open, whether it be good, whether it be evil. The whole point is to keep the commandments. Don't be caught up by the lust within. We got to do a better job of study, praying, applying, fasting, praying, all things above. We can always get better at those things, because this life can be challenging sometimes. And then how you read in Hebrews how sin is pleasurable, right? It can be difficult trying to denounce or deny yourself of the things that you enjoy doing, but we got to put the commandments first. It's more needful, because I want to see spaceships. I want to see spaceships, and my prayer is that in the kingdom, Most High let me have 2 gorillas.
2 gorillas.
I want 2 gorillas. One of the gorillas, his name is going to be Lord, and the other gorilla, his name is going to be Have Mercy. So when it's time to execute judgment, that's the last thing that he's going to be saying, Lord, have mercy.
All right, y'all.
That's what I want. That's why I keep the commandments for my 2 gorillas.
Right. Hey, listen, whatever you got to do, bro. Whatever you got to do to keep these commandments, whatever, you got to kind of wish for, desire for it.
Yeah.
Do that thing, man. Do that thing. And Lord's will, man, listen, that's the end of our time. I pray that you have gleaned something from tonight's lesson. Fix Your Faces up next. So, yeah, man, y'all have a happy Sabbath. Again, I'm Officer Alicia, and I have
Officer Ryan.
All right, Lord's will.
Shalom to the leadership.
Shalom,
Happy
everyone.
Sabbath.
Leadership, the bishops, deacons, captains, officers, soldiers. I pray that everyone have a happy Sabbath. All right, Most High Christ bless. Shalom.
Nation is men leading by example. Nation is family. Nation is community. Nation is children with role models. Nation is unity. Nation is you. And